Hello again, everyone. This is going to be a part 2 of what I've been up to since I hadn't made a video. In this one, I'm gonna flip through my, at this point, heavily redacted June composition book journal. This one, I made a copy of one of the journals I made in a Kelly Krenz class. I just scanned it and then printed it and put it on there. And hopefully this video will be a lot more upbeat, except for right here at the beginning as I've gone through this. I recorded a video yesterday and then I watched it back, and there's a lot of stuff that sometimes there's things that it's just not my story to tell, you know? So I decided to go through and redact a bunch of stuff, but I have my stack of things here that I want to show you, and hopefully you'll find something inspiring. So here we go. This journal started on June 1st, and like I said, we were still going through a lot of stuff with my father-in-law, and I like to do this in my comp book journals. This is a list of things that Linda Berry says that you should write down in your composition book journal, and then I've kind of, over the past couple of years, I've kind of come up with a list of things that I like to include. So sometimes I put that sort of list in the beginning of my journals. I had big plans to list all my June goals here, but that didn't go as well. This was during the time, the first week of June, was during the time that there were a lot of protests going on, and Fort Worth had to be under a curfew because some of the protests, even here, got very violent. And then this is pages and pages and pages of things up to June 7th. My father-in-law passed away on June 7th, and I don't know what state of grief anger is, but I think I'm kind of stuck in the anger stage, because I really honestly believe with my whole heart that if the procedures that he needed hadn't been delayed and postponed and canceled and rescheduled because of COVID, and he didn't have COVID. COVID wasn't even a factor in his health. It was the fact that the hospitals were canceling all of this, what was considered elective procedures, and somehow, you know, he had AFib issues that weren't that bad back in February, and he needed to go in and have, you know, where, I don't know what it's called, where they stop your heart and restart the, you know, reset your heart rhythm and stuff. You know, he needed to have that done. And that kept getting pushed out. You know, when he finally got that stuff scheduled in March, it kept getting pushed out and canceled. And so it was like, when, you know, this procedure, this non-invasive procedure might have worked, you know, back here, you don't do anything, and when you've got congestive heart failure, it just keeps getting worse and worse. So all of a sudden now the procedure that you need is more invasive, and then it gets put off. And then, so we went, the first week of June, it was such a roller coaster, because we even had things like, you know, he had a temporary pacemaker in place, and they came in to remove the temporary pacemaker, but that doctor convinced him, they were taking the temporary pacemaker out so he could transfer to hospice, and then that doctor convinced him to try the permanent pacemaker anyway. So, you know, it's like we'd spend 24 hours thinking he was going to hospice, and then we'd spend the next 24 hours where his heart was, you know, doing fine on its own. And then, anyway, he passed away on the 7th, and he was a really cool guy. He was an artist himself. He was a jeweler, and we miss him. We miss him a lot. So back the end of May, I think it was May 31st, was when Kelly Krenz did a challenge, or she posted on Instagram kind of a challenge to make these little itty bitty stitchy things. She was calling them itty bitties. And so I'll pause here and show you. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm sure you've seen these. And this is not in any kind of order at this point because I've just got them piled in this little, but I thought I would lay these out here so you could see some of my little, what's the top? No, that's the top. Some of my itty bitties. So this this was really good for me at the time for what I was going through, and for me this turned into a kind of a way to focus on some prayers that I needed to say, and so it's like every little stitch kind of turned into a prayer of sorts. You know, I could, as a way for me to actually focus, because I have a lot, my mind wanders a lot, and so it's pretty hard for me. I'm not a very good prayer, because one moment I'm asking the Lord for something and thanking him for something, and then in the next minute I'm thinking about the laundry and, you know, stuff like that. So anyway, this was really fun. I think I ended up making about 35 or more of these, and they were so much fun. And now, as of, it actually started yesterday, July 28th, Kelly has a class that she's teaching on these, making these. And, you know, I hadn't seen the class, so I just came up with my own method of making them. And anyway, they were a lot of fun. I have used one of the ones that I made in the, you know, going through the 30 days. I've used one on something that I'll show you in a little bit, but they're fun to make. I mean, honestly, I kind of think they're fun in this bowl. You know, I could put them on the coffee table in this little bowl and you could go through them. I think if I was gonna have them like this, like, so you could just handle them, I probably would want to put a backing on them of some kind. But anyway, those were a lot of fun to make, and I'm still working on some. I just kind of, after that, you know, it was a challenge to do 30 of them, and so after I had kind of done 30 of them, 35 or so, I was sort of ready to move on to something else. This is from another class that I did of Kelly's, called Stitching Sacred Shrines. And I'm not really I'm not a shrine person, but this was so much fun to make. And her classes are very, very inspiring. So this has just been, I just hung this on my bulletin board because I don't know what to put in it, but I did make a copy of it for my journal, and I just put this guy diving in there. This is just doodling. Some more sewing I wanted to do. This, I guess, June 10th, this was when I finally signed up for Noom, because my clothes were, you know, not fitting, like I said in the last one, and I had been sewing a lot, and then I thought to myself, you know, why don't I just lose weight? Instead of having to make or buy new pants, maybe I could just lose weight. So I joined Noom, so I've been on a diet, and it's going all right. I don't like being on a diet, but this day I missed a doctor's appointment, and I was furious at myself because they charge you for the full visit when you miss an appointment, and I said that was like flushing $140 down the toilet, so I was very, very irritated with myself. This is a copy of the Helsinki Bus Theory. Minkinen, it's a man from Finland, and he did this speech at a graduation commencement ceremony, and I'll have to do a different, I mean, you can look it up, but it's called the Helsinki bus theory, and it's about starting out on your path in life, you know, because he was talking to college graduates, and taking a direction and then getting off the bus and starting over and start, you know, you get frustrated with where you're going and you don't stay on the bus long enough to be, so anyway. It's a really interesting theory, and so I printed out his speech, and then I redrew a little image from that kind of stood for or represented the Helsinki bus station and the way he was telling the story. This is doodling. This is me doodling while I was watching Netflix. This is when I found the show Community on Netflix, and this is just journaling with watercolor and a brush. Here's the next set of some of the stitchy things I did. Let's see, June 17th, I was watching one of Elizabeth's videos from Never Hopeless by Elizabeth, and she showed a printout from an artist named Suzanne Rose, and it's actually with a Z, I think. And so then I had discovered Suzanne Rose, and her work is so beautiful. I'll put a link to her YouTube channel down below, but she has some gorgeous printables and some great YouTube videos. So these are from a printable of hers that I printed out, and then I spent some time doing, excuse me, this is her printable, doing some kind of flowers that were sort of inspired by her. This is Fortnite. The season in Fortnite was about to close, and so these were the challenges I needed to get done before the end of the Fortnite season. Some stuff about ADHD. This is me. I have a tendency I have so many choices of things that I want to do. The way that I end up dealing with it is I just shut down. I just get into a state of being overwhelmed, and I just kind of shut down. This was something I found online, an article by Philippa Stanton about comparison and the role that social media these days is playing on how we compare ourselves to others. My daughter and I went to Daiso that day, June 21st. Okay, so I was working in I had started another journal by this time. And it kind of goes, well, I can't remember when I started it, and I didn't see it in any of these. But I had gotten a lot of this packing paper. I think it was in a Red River paper order that I did. I had a whole bunch of this packing paper, so I made a journal out of it, and it was 2 signatures, and then I taped it together with some book tape. And I had been, like I said in the other video, I had been thinking a lot about Sabrina Ward Harrison's course, and then I had also been comparing myself and where I am and things like that to others, and it was just kind of, I don't know, I was really introspective and kind of a bummer. And the good news is that something clicked, something changed, and I don't know if it was my birthday, but I kind of feel like maybe I was so down about all of it that I just got to a breaking point, and something clicked, and I kind of felt like I was on the verge of my own anagnorisis, or change. And so I kind of kept journaling in this, and then it was it was twice as thick. So after I kind of felt like, okay, I'm going to stop thinking about this negative stuff. I'm going to stop focusing on it for I cut the book in half because I was like, I don't want to keep journaling about this stuff for this many more pages. So I cut the book in half, and I do still have a few pages left. if I wanted to, I could just glue all of these pages together and say it's done, but that's what I was working on. This little journal is what I was working on at that point. And my intention when I made the journal was that I would fill it and then make the cover afterwards. So there's that. I won 3 games of Fortnite that day, solo games. This was a collage of just some stuff that was on the table. More trying to do like some Suzanne Rose tutorials. I kind of skipped. There was June 22nd, and then I skipped all the way to June 28th, and I hadn't journaled during that week. But I think that's when I started this journal. And I'm going to set it aside there for a second because I'll get to it in just a minute. Oh, this was really weird. So, for some reason, I got The Devil Went Down to Georgia stuck in my head. This was June 28th, the day after my birthday. So I got The Devil Went Down to Georgia stuck in my head. And I was singing the song over and over and over, and I realized that there's one line in the song that I did not know the words to. So I would sing, you know, chicken in the bread pan picking out dough, na 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 na, like I didn't know the next line. So I looked it up, and it was just so enlightening to me to discover what he was saying. And I wrote it somewhere else in here. But he actually says, "Granny, does your dog bite? No, child, no." So after that, I mean, I probably listened to The Devil Went Down to Georgia 25 times that day. I had it blaring, and you know, I played the violin in elementary school, and I was ready to get a new violin and learn to play the fiddle. I mean, I was all over it. It was so weird though because what was so strange about it then was I had texted my cousin and told her about that line. I was like, you know, I never knew what he was saying in this song. And then I looked it up, and it's like, you know, why did I wait so long to look it up? Not that I even listened to country music and then he died a few weeks later. He died in July, Charlie Daniels. So anyway, that was kind of weird. But this day, I think I made a new art journal. So that was when I made, but I had already been working on this one. Well, that was when I made this journal. So this is the cover from like a wine book, I think. And I left the cover intact. Wait, no, I didn't. You can tell I cut it off and replaced it with a soft spine. No, I think I did leave it and just covered it with, yeah. So the whole cover is here. I just cover, that's Tyvek on the inside, and then covered it with fabric on the outside. So I made this journal, and when I made it, I did something very different than what I usually do, which is I went through and decorated or, you know, painted and stuff backgrounds and sewed stuff in for the entire journal. And I don't usually do that. But the way that it turned out, I had mentioned in the last video that I joined getmessy.com, and I ended up turning this into my Get Messy journal. So I'll show you a flip through of it in a few minutes. But I found another show. This one in Australia, it's called Upper Middle Bogan, but here it's called Best of Both Worlds. And it had Glenn Robbins in it from Kath and Kim, and he cracks me up. So I enjoyed watching that. And that was some other stuff. This is me talking about my birthday. Okay, so when I joined Get Messy, I discovered Char Derun. And Rowan, I don't know how to say her last name. Even I'm gonna have to ask her on Saturday. And her work was so unbelievably inspiring to me. The colors, everything about it. And I hadn't really felt that inspired in a long time. So what I decided to do was to, there was one of her journals that she had posted like almost every page of on Instagram. And so what I decided to do was I thought, you know what, I'm gonna copy that journal. I mean, it's only for myself. I don't have to share it with anybody. I'm not claiming it was any of my ideas, But you know, that's how we learn, is by, and I was at a very low point as far as inspiration goes. I felt like I had none. So I made another craft paper journal. I'm really digging the craft paper journals, but this one's made out of, I think it's made out of grocery bags also. So this is my Pretty Pages Inspired by Char journal, and it was so weird because when I joined Get Messy, Char's lessons were in there for the season of home, and that's how I discovered her. And then I was like just taken with her work. I was just everything. Every time I looked at one of her images, I just wanted to grab my paint and my book and start doing stuff. And then for July, okay, so I had already done this book. I had almost finished it. I think I was, right about here, halfway through this book. And I was literally taking some images from her journal. Like, this is a layout from her journal, and that's my interpretation of it. So I was literally using layouts from her journal as inspiration for this journal, because I thought maybe it would get me out of my funk. And I think it did. I think it worked. So while I was doing this, I was thinking to myself that I should contact her on Instagram and ask her if I can show this journal and how I used her journal to get my mojo back, kind of thing, And then for July, in Get Messy, they put us in groups, kind of like little accountability groups in a way or whatever. And guess who's the leader of my group? There was 15 people in our group. Char! It was so weird. I mean, it was so weird. So I had already been doing all of this, inspired by her journal. And then I got put in a group, and she's the leader of the group. So now I've had 2 or 3 Zoom hangouts with them, and oh my goodness, it was so serendipitous, and I feel like it kind of pulled me out of a funk. But here's another, here's a page from her journal, and then there's her journal, and then here's my interpretation of that page. And I drew this picture, and it was supposed to be me, older, getting better with age, because I just had my birthday. And then my husband and my daughter saw it, and and they were like, "Oh, I hope that's not you. That doesn't look anything like you," This says, "It's only possible to live happily ever after on a day-to-day basis." Anyway, I also started in this journal something different that I did. I was taking things out of this 14,000 Things to Be Happy About book and kind of using that. Tear her dress off. These are kind of inspired. Char has a page in her journal about art club, and of course it looks very different, but and then from here on back, these are my pages, not specifically inspired by any of her pages, but I took what I learned here from kind of imitating her style and translated it into kind of my style. So from here back, then this is more my style. And what was funny was I actually got to, on a Zoom call with Char, there's other people in there. I think there were 9 of us on that first one. I actually got to confess to her that I had been stalking her online, and that I had printed out physical copies of, physical pictures of some of her journals, and had been copying them. So I fessed up. I completely fessed up. It's all out in the open. She knows I was copying her. But I think that her work was critical in getting me out of a funk that I was really stuck in. So this is kind of how I art journal, I guess. This lady was in a Vogue magazine, and I thought she looked very regal, so I gave her a little crown. This I cut out of a 1960s Life magazine, I think, and it inspired me because Char was using a bunch of butterflies in her journal, and so I started using some butterflies, and then I found this, and so I thought, oh, I'll do draw a butterfly. So this is some, then I kind of got on a butterfly thing, drawing butterflies, and I like this page. This is was a die cut that I have for the Sizzix thing. Doesn't have any text or anything on it, but I kind of like it. More butterflies, more butterflies. This page I tore out butterfly out of a dictionary that I had, and I noticed when I was tearing it out, you know, this, oh, it had buttercups right above it, the flower, and then butter right above that, and I was thinking to myself, ooh, all of the butters are lovely, n'est-ce pas? So anyway, this turned into a yellow page. I think that this is my favorite layout in the book, and when I flipped this page, you know, at first I thought, oh, I should draw the other half of these butterflies. But then I just was sitting here with my pencil and feeling of it, and I just started sort of tracing or, you know, shading around the edge of the butterflies. And then thinking about flying, I love this quote by Erin Hansen. This is, she's a poet, very young. There is freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky, and you ask, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? I love that. Love that. So I kind of felt like I got to a point with this journal that it was finished. This is one of Char's printables I bought on Etsy. But I had like 4 pages left, and so I don't know if you can see all the layers. So I just glued them all together, like I was saying I might do in that other journal. So this is really thick now because it's like 4 pages glued together. But I was ready to be finished in this journal, and I didn't feel like I had anything else to put in here. So that was where it ended. But so that's my Char journal. Thank you so much, Char, for your inspiration. This, I made spaces for some of the other things I did, but I didn't get them put in there yet. See, I was feeling inspired. Oh, this, I was trying to write like this style with my Tombow markers. I'm not very good at hand lettering, but I was trying to think of something to write, and I thought, you know, that would be interesting to do a journal of just really random, bizarre facts about you or about someone you know. So this is true. I ate a cricket in New Orleans. True story. Kind of me still being introspective a little bit. This day I went down and dug through things in the basement looking for crayons, some of my daughter's old crayons, because I had an idea about using cheap supplies. Anyway, it was this journal. So this says I made a new journal. I know, another journal. Out of mostly blank paper, some of that large paper from the storage unit, and some blank pages from an old sketchbook. The sole purpose of using it only for experiments and crayons and messy, no judgment finger painting. So this is the journal that I put together, and it's made out of that paper that I got in high school, and then also out of some sketchbooks that I had from high school and early in college that had, you know, you have a sketchbook that's old and it's got like 10 or 8 or whatever blank pages in the back. I ripped all the blank pages out and bound them in here. And this was the day I found out that Char was our leader for the group that I got put into. So I'll do a little flip through of this. This is crayons. This is a stamp that I found in the basement in my daughter's stuff, but it had melted at some point, so it's all distorted. So then I was doing kind of color collages, just using things up from my Busy Hands journal and just collage-y stuff. Don't know what happened there. And you'll notice all of this so far. I made the book, and all of this I did on July 1st. Still July 1st. This one's July 2nd. So I was playing with the like the pinwheel or the wheel concept pie. This is from a Jane LaFazio course that I have of hers, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's it kind of fit into this whole doing these circles and things. So I just kept playing with those and putting them together. All that's still June 2nd. This is like collaging and then putting tissue paper on top of it, kind of playing with the transparency of stuff. Still July 2nd, and I think this is July 2nd. So this is the Suzanne Rose, one of Suzanne's tutorials. And then on July 3rd, I started doing just some collages, and this is using a bunch of my old collage papers that I made a while back. And I really got into this. I was enjoying doing these collages. I really like this one. I double stamped that embossing ink though right there, but I kind of like that. I like that one. Still on July 3rd. And this is some of my old jelly prints, and that's actually an old piece of page from a journal that I ripped out because I didn't like it. And then, is that July 3rd? And then on July 4th, I made a whole bunch of new collage papers. And I used some big book text pages, and I did, I don't know, there's probably 12 or 15 pages I did of to make collage paper, and I used a bunch of metallics on it and stuff like that. And then it was fun because I made them, let them dry, and then I turned them over to the back so I couldn't see what I was cutting, and just cut them, you know, like stacked three up and cut them from the back so I couldn't see what I was cutting, and just cut them into these random shapes. And then that's what I used in these collages. So that's what these pieces are. I didn't scan them before I cut them up, and I kind of regret that now because some of these have some really cool moments in them, and they looked horrible. They were so busy. Well, this is really busy before I cut them up. But then I really liked them once I cut them up. This is a piece, that's a piece, that's a piece, there's a piece. So this is still the 4th of July. I really like this one. I really like that one too. So I was getting really into it. These are all the 4th of July. of July. So anyway, I made this book on the 1st and I finished it on July the 5th. And it was kind of a fun exercise, like I said, because I was actually challenging myself to just make pages without thinking too hard about it and just let go and kind of, so anyway. This I printed out. This is something my husband sent me. It's one of those, you know, like funny things that circulates on the internet, but it was full of bad language, so I covered that part up. But it cracked me up from the very beginning because the first thing it says is, Dear Diary 2020 edition, in January, Australia caught on fire. And then it just goes through everything that's happened in 2020. More just journaling and notes. This is when I discovered Tandy Arts. And I found her watching a video by Elizabeth, Never Hopeless by Elizabeth. I like Elizabeth's videos because although our styles are different, she also does kind of a chronological daily journal thing, and I think that our journals have kind of a similar feel. But I really like her. That Elizabeth is how I found out about the Mantra Wellness magazine, and then she showed some Tandy Arts images, and I bought some of her digis on Etsy, which also inspired me to start drawing some whimsical girls. This day I got to go to the thrift shop and bought some books and some shirts and things to cut up. Let's see, my uppercase magazine came. More from Suzanne Rose, inspired from her tutorials. Rose from my garden. So this day, July 7th, I was using up a lot of those collage sheets, and I decided that I might like having some monochromatic versions to use in collages and other things. So I made these collage sheets. This is on that same paper I was using for the first set. But this time, I did them like in color themes. And these are really fun, and that's what I was saying about how they're so busy on their own, but when you cut it into small pieces, it's really cool. But this was fun. Most of them started out with either watercolor or acrylic, and then they have colored pencil and crayon and neocolor, and some of them have some stamping, maybe not. I thought I did. Oh yeah, there's some stamping on this one. Lots of metallic, there's stamping, some metallic inks. This one's got colored pencil and whatnot. So I did, that one has some glitter. So I did these to start using them in other collages and stuff. And so I started cutting them apart. And then I thought, you know what, this time I need to scan these. So I scanned them and decided I'm gonna keep these and just cut up my scans, because I kind of regret cutting up those others. So now I have some copies of them that I can use in collages. And then this, after I bought, I'm telling you, I'm a copycat, but oh no, I just lied. It wasn't Elizabeth. It was Sarah from Roxy Creations, who showed some digitals that she bought from Tandy Arts on Etsy. And I immediately had to go, and I'll put a link to her down below. So sorry, it was Elizabeth is where I discovered Suzanne Rose, and Sarah at Roxy Creations is where I discovered Tandy Arts. So after I was super inspired looking at Tandy Arts, her drawings, so I tried some on my own, and I decided I was going to do some whimsical stuff. And I had done a Mindy Lacefield, which y'all have seen this before, a Mindy Lacefield, I think it was called Wild Surrender, but I can't find it. Like, I don't have access to it anymore. I don't know. But anyway, this is from 2015. And I've always liked trying to draw these kinds of girls and stuff. So these are some other ones that I had done in a different journal. But then I decided, after trying to draw these whimsical things, that I wanted to like come up with my character, or, you know, my very own whimsical girl. So I ended up buying, I watched some of Tandy Arts videos, and I bought another Mindy Lacefield class, and I was watching some of her tutorials on YouTube. And this is gouache. I've been using watercolor since high school, but I'm not very good with gouache. And these were kind of Mindy Lacefield inspired, but they're gouache. That's watercolor. This poor girl, I tried to do these little cute, I was thinking, oh, little cute ponytails. But then I thought they look like ears, so I thought she looked like a deer. So I turned her into a deer, and I think I like her better as a deer than I did as a girl. This poor girl, this was a Mindy Lacefield inspired, and woo, she has bad hair. And then I got, further back here you'll see, I remembered my Danielle Donaldson, who is another artist who does a lot of whimsical stuff that I absolutely love. And I had this book of hers, but I went ahead, I ordered her first book, which is Creative Girl. And I also bought one of her classes. I think this one's at Jean Oliver. And so this is pretty awesome. I mean, this is handouts from 2 of her classes that I bought online. So I was practicing Danielle Donaldson style girls from her tutorials and her online class. And that's where these girls came from. She's cute. So, and that's just blank pages. So this is my whimsical journal. And my hope was that I could draw, you know, they have such different, Mindy Lacefield and Danielle Donaldson, they have such different styles. And I would love to have a character like that I could draw that was my own style, you know. So, but I don't know how long it would take me to be able to come up with my own style of character that I could draw. This is another book I ordered, but it's not exactly what I was looking for. These are a little creepier looking than I would prefer. But anyway, okay. So I was just, like I said, taking pictures of things that I did. Oh, this July 11th. Oh, we're already in July. This is when I started on a patchwork, Stitchy patchwork bag. So this little pocket right here on this bag is made, let me take my stuff out of it. This little pocket is one that I made in a Kelly Krenz class. And I decided I wanted to make a pouch. So I kind of based this on a purse that I made years ago that I use as a crossbody bag. But I made this out of an old quilt that half the quilt is just like completely torn up. I mean, it looks like it got caught in a wood chipper. It's really bad. So I used this and I started sewing little things on it. So, you know, sort of inspired by the stuff I was doing here, and then inspired by a lot of the Mandy Patello, who's my very favorite textile collage artist. And she has a new book coming out. Oh, I'm so excited. I already pre-ordered it. Anyway, so I started doing this, and at first I was just gonna make it a pouch, you know, that I could like carry things in, you know, because I'm all about the pouches. I love this one. I love how it turned out. So then I decided, no, I'm going to make it into a bag that I can carry. So that's why there's not anything on this side, because this is the side that I'll carry up against my body. And I didn't want anything snagging. So I'm not finished with this. Oh, the zipper. The zipper is, I looked in my zipper box for a zipper to put in this, and I didn't have any handbag zippers, but this was in there. And this is actually a zipper from a thrifted eyelet jacket. And I had cut the zipper out of the front of the jacket and put it in my zipper stash. So I thought, oh, that would be cool. So I put that zipper in there. So it's a repurposed quilt and a repurposed zipper from a jacket. And then I just made a handle also out of the, it's like a short shoulder strap. Anyway, here's what it looks like so far on the inside. And then I'm waiting to put a lining in it. I'm going to put a full lining in it with, you know, cell phone pocket and key pocket and all that kind of stuff. But I'm waiting until I'm positive that I'm finished putting stuff on it. And this is actually another example of me being very impatient because I couldn't stand not knowing what the shape was going to end up like. So I stitched it together before I finished putting stuff on it, and now it's really hard to stitch on it now that it's all closed up. But anyway, so that's my Stitchy bag, and you may have seen that on Instagram. This is, okay, and then Danielle Donaldson does a word jar, and I had been collecting words and statements and things that I cut out of books for a long time. So I had like a little envelope of stuff. I think this is one that I'd done I found this, he said, I believe it's yours. But then on July 13th and 14th, if you want to know where I was sitting at this table all day for 2 days, cutting apart book text to come up with this lovely word salad. And so, I mean, it's something I've done for a long time, you know, we all do, cut things out of books, but this, I love doing found poetry, like blackout poetry and things like that. And so Danielle just kind of renewed my love of found poetry, and so I've been making some starting the conversation, no one says anything to the other side. So this one evening, a great wind whistled, and behind it, things will never change. I went down through a crack, interrupting the silence with 1 foot. So I love doing these. Go out once more to look at the terrifying bigness of the setting sun and lay there watching it. That's deep. Let's see. I felt as if I'd been swimming with no one to talk to. I like this one. With the sunset, night had come. Quietly light the last torch. All the fear I had felt that morning disappears. I like these. Next summer, you'll miss dancing like a flower in the sky. It would be that she had lots of wonderful daydreams. Oh, it would be at that time of night she had lots of wonderful daydreams. So Danielle got me excited about found poetry again, which I hadn't done in a little while. And I spent 2 days cutting out new words to make new things. And I've been gluing some of those little poem things that I came up with in some of my journals. So that's what I spent this day doing. I got some really cute polka dot pants at Target that day. And that's it. That's this journal. So this was June 1st through July 15th. And then really fast, this is already 46 minutes long. I'll just show you because I did these, I think, during that same time. This is a journal I made before I made this one. I made this one and I had found this book that had an M on the front of it. And it's just a reinforced spine altered book. And then I just put kind of assorted and varied and scrappy papers in it. So I was going to use this as like an art journal, and I actually did a couple of pages. I mean, I painted that in, and I actually did a couple of pages in here, but then I decided to do something bigger. And anyway, I have this one that I can work in. I made a couple of these with manila envelopes and scrap papers, things like that. I like these kind. And then this one I made with some of that paper that I found in my storage unit and another manila envelope. And then this is another soft spine that I made. The spine that I painted is really bright, but I love the way this cover turned out. And this one has a lot of room in it. So I was kind of thinking, you know, this could be another collage journal where I can add a whole lot to it. And it doesn't have any pockets. It doesn't have, it's just under paper and scrap paper and varied book text and things like that. It does, I guess I did sew some pages to make them big enough. But anyway, also made that one. So that's another month and a half of what I've been up to since I haven't been on YouTube. I have to tell y'all, because I do have some comments sometimes that you can't hear me very well. So I bought some of these Apple AirPods because I figured I could use these with my iPhone and you could hear me better, because people use these on TV all the time when they're on a conference call or something. Well, turns out you can't. I can't record video on my iPhone using the audio from the connected AirPods. So that was a bust. I'll have to do a whole nother, if you can't hear me, I guess you just have to turn it up, or I mean, I have another external microphone, but then what I have to do is record the video and audio on my phone, record separate audio at the same time on my computer, then put the phone video into the computer, detach the audio track from it, and then match up the separate audio track that I recorded on the microphone and link it up and put those two together to create a new video. And it's a lot of work, so I haven't done it. Anyway, I hope you could hear me. I hope you found something inspiring. And I'll do one more video because I have my current journal that I'm working in. So I'll do one more kind of catch-up video, and then I'll think of something else to show you. So thanks for sticking with me, guys, if you did. And I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.